Hi guys, this is IceMayne. Welcome back for a brand new video. This time I'm going to break down my thoughts on Halo Infinite's gameplay following the flight testing, the pros and cons, and what I expect upon launch. Before we begin though, if you enjoy the video, make sure you smash them like and subscribe buttons and leave a comment below on what you're looking forward to most on Halo Infinite. To kick things off, following on from my previous video, the flight was very basic. It didn't have a great deal to experiment with, so through the course of this video, I'm going to leave some full gameplay footage in the background so you can get a sense of a complete game. Now, my experience playing the flight was a lot of fun. It brought back old vibes from Halos in the past, like 2 and 3, and honestly, by the end I was sad to have to stop playing. The gameplay itself has a lot of new features, with some being good, some not so much, and the first one I want to discuss is the new movement system. Going from the fast-paced, crazy movement of Halo 5 to a more grounded, slower Halo Infinite was going to divide a lot of the fans. Myself, I actually thought they hit it perfectly. Sprint has always been Marmite in the Halo community. One side loves it and feels it provides a more realistic approach to a Spartan, and some hate it because of the ripple effect it has on maps, etc. In Halo Infinite, the sprint is, as you can see numbers-wise, not that significant. You may ask, what's the point of it then? The purpose of sprint is strictly to allow players to utilise the new slide mechanic, which is one of the new features. With sprint and slide combined and a mastery of the mechanics, you can traverse the map at a much quicker pace without having a sprint mechanic that divides the fan base. I feel like 343 found a healthy balance to keep both sides happy. Sprinters still get what they want and an additional use for it, while people that hate it won't be too negatively impacted by simply roaming at walking speed. A healthy compromise between the two. I'm sure once players find certain slide spots and areas they can utilise the slide, they can increase the skill gap tremendously. One aspect of the flight I couldn't get comfortable with, and I know quite a few people felt the same about it, was the sensitivity. When booting up, I simply copied what I had from the Master Chief Collection, but it felt slightly off, a little stiff at times, then really fast all of a sudden. Towards the end, I did learn to adjust, but I'm hoping they fine-tune the sensitivity settings upon final release. Another mechanic I am glad to see back as well is the de-scoping when hit or receiving fire. This is something that was a staple in the early years. They got rid of it and then obviously brought it back. I do think it adds an element of skill to the gameplay. It rewards people for their timing and taking into account when they receive a hit, adjusting their aim and being able to hit their target still. I just think it increases the skill gap even more, and that's what players love to see. One of the more enjoyable mechanics to see return is the Ragdoll Physics from games past. This is something I felt got toned down quite a bit in 4 and 5 compared to the likes of 2 and 3. And as you can see, when I go to melee this bot, he goes absolutely flying. It just adds an enjoyable quirk to the game. I'm hoping we get to see more Yankee physics when it comes to vehicles down the line, for example, sticking a Warthog and sending it flying again. It's that factor of fun that has been sorely missed in my opinion. Another physics-related gameplay aspect I want to touch on is the grenades. This is a fundamental feature in Halo, and I've always enjoyed when we've been able to toss a grenade with force off a surface and utilize angles to get to enemies. In Infinite though, it did feel like the throw was a little flimsy. I was hoping we'd have arms like Patrick Mahomes, but it was more Matt Cassell. Maybe they'll upgrade this in the future, I doubt it, but you know. One thing I didn't like, it is when you kill an enemy, their grenades have an orange glow on the floor. So I always thought I was walking onto an explosion like Martyrdom in Call of Duty 4, but it was just a lit up grenade. So it was a bit of a bizarre feature in my opinion, maybe just to highlight where grenades are, make it easier to see, but I just found it a little bit unnecessary. The other aspect I want to talk about is the jumping and clambering. Now, it does for the most part feel the same as 5. You can turn auto clamber off and on, and while some fans think there should be a punishment for poorly timed jumps, and clamber eliminates that, I'm indifferent. I honestly can't say I like it or dislike it. It's not something in my opinion that breaks gameplay, so it is what it is. Let me know your thoughts on clamber in the comments below. Overall though, the jumping feels nice. It doesn't feel as floaty as Halo 3, you know, when you jump and you're in the air for like 4 seconds. It does feel they've balanced it nice. Like I said, Halo 5 is probably the nearest comparison. I think they've actually hit the nail on the head with regards to the jumping and clambering. Something I do want to throw in, which you're about to see on the gameplay, is something I never really understood what the purpose of it was. It's now the ability on your D-pad, or whatever button settings you had, but it was on my D-pad, to drop your weapon. I mean, if you don't want to use your secondary, you would just pick it up and swap it for another, or you'd just keep it away. But I couldn't wrap my head around why they gave us the option to drop the gun entirely. It just didn't make sense. Maybe someone can explain to me what their thought process was, but in my opinion, it's a very pointless feature. Overall, I felt the game is fantastically paced, the mechanics are nice, and it has a lot of potential going forward. With the right weapon balancing, as mentioned in my previous video, and some well-designed maps, the game could be, touch wood, the best in the series. 343 have said more flights will be taking place, so be sure to sign up on Halo Waypoint as an insider so you don't miss out. I imagine the next one will focus more on PvP, as this was a trial run for their bots to see how intuitive they are. That wraps it up today, guys. I'm very excited to play more Infinite in the future and would be interested in hearing from you guys that did manage to play the flight yourselves. Stay tuned for more content, and until next time, stay frosty.